What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel for a brand new Sorare video. What I would do if I was to start Sorare today. Now this video is going to be slightly different in terms of I don't have many visuals to show you guys or any notes as such for this one. I do appreciate people will start on different budgets, i.e. £50, £100, £1,000, but I will try and cater for everyone under one umbrella, and that'll make sense moving forward as well. We've just started the new era on Sorare. We're on Sunday of the first weekend of the new Sorare. I just want to kind of touch on what my thoughts and my plans and my strategies would be if I was to start Sorare today. And as always, guys, if you do enjoy the video, please drop it a like. It helps me and my channel out so much, and it's much appreciated if you do enjoy the video. But without further ado, let's jump in to the video. And as I mentioned in the intro, I haven't got a set plan for this video, so I do apologise in advance if I start waffling on about a certain kind of topic or subject. The first thing I want to touch on really is your goal on Sorare. When you first start Sorare, whether it's £100, £1,000, you know, what is your goal? Is it to have fun on the game? Is it more the investment side? You know, we see people come on Sorare and look at it from an investment point of view, or so as a game, all a bit of both. Now, with this new game mode change on Sorare, I would say, you know, you've got to start looking at it more from a game point of view, in my opinion. And that's about having fun, I think, anyway. So the first thing I'll kind of mention is which scarcity kind of looking at. Now, again, I don't want to kind of touch on all budgets. I'm not going to say if you've got £1,000 start on rare, or, you know, you've got £500 start on limited. That's going to be up to you guys and what you kind of think is your enjoyment levels on Sorare. Now, just an example in my gallery will make more sense in a moment in time. I have 60 super rares. Now, don't get me wrong, these super rares, some of them are absolutely amazing. For example, like Bowen and Mark Gay, for example. I'm not going to mention them all. Eze, Barcola, some amazing super rares, do not get me wrong. But do I feel competitive enough in super rare? Do I get enjoyment from these 60 super rares? Probably not, and I still haven't made my mind up yet what I'm going to be doing with these super rares moving forward from summer and August onwards as well. You can see I've got a lot of rare cards and limited. Now, my most enjoyment comes from my rare cards, and as you know, if you do follow my channel, I want to become a rare whale. And that's my enjoyment, picking players that I know from the top 5 leagues, mainly in Champ Europe. And that's how I play Sorare. So again, I do appreciate people have different budgets when they do first start Sorare. But just for this example, if you come on Sorare with £1,000 budget, this is a kind of lamp you can kind of put out in Premier League or Champ Europe competitions. Now, I believe these are all in-season cards, so you can probably get them a bit cheaper for old season. But for this video's sake, you know, let's say these are £1,000 for the in-season cards. And as you can see, it's a fairly decent team, probably the best goalkeeper in the Premier League. You know, a few decent players in there, including, you know, Gross, you know, Gord, etc., etc. So you start off with around £1,000. You've got one team to put out, which is a great team, don't get me wrong. So that's something you can do. You can maybe mess around the players and have a few extras as well. Or you can jump in a limited market. Now, this amount will cost you roughly, so let's say £400 for the sake. And this is probably the best Premier League team, in my opinion, on Sorare. Bit of a defensive stat from Liverpool, which we'll touch on in a moment in time. Man City and Son as the forward as well. Now, as you can see, the price is a lot cheaper for this one. Obviously, limited cards are a lot harder to win as well. So the 1,000 cards, with more cards in the rewards pool, obviously more competition in terms of a managers playing that competition as well. So the first thing you've got to ask yourself is, you know, what would you enjoy more? You know, putting out, again, this is just an example of the Premier League. You might have a very low budget, but, you know, £50, £100, for example, and looking at, you know, J League players, MLS players. But, you know, do you want to start off in a rare category where you might buy players that aren't world class? And Alisson, probably not the best example there, but, you know, aren't the top tier cards on Sorare, but can still grind you decent rewards? Or have 2 or 3 teams in limited and buy the top end players, the best players on Sorare, the Rodris, the Trent, the Sons, the De Bruynes, for example, you know, going down the scarcity. Now, I've seen a lot of managers on Sorare recently going from rare to limited, so they might have just had the Cat 240 in rare or a few rare cards, sold them up and gone fully, kind of put their fully focus on limited cards and getting those best cards and having fun with the players that they know, the top end players. Same for people with super rares as well. So I've seen a lot of people play Cap 240 super rare, or have, you know, 10, 20 super rares, even more like myself. I'm thinking they're not competitive there, and maybe move down to rares and becoming like myself a bit of a rare whale and buying those rare cards. So yeah, that's the first thing you got to kind of think on. You're starting Sorare. Now the best thing to do that is using Sorare data. Having a little scout around, look at player rankings, look at this filter, doing a bit of a spreadsheet. Where do you see yourself with your budget? So get your budget ready. So let's say you've got £500 budget to start off on Sorare, which is quite a big budget, of course. And have a look at the players in that region. Try and build a rare team out in your scarcity of choice and also your competition of choice, which will come on to in a moment in time. And, see what you like best on paper. Keep in mind, obviously, in rare, you'll obviously win more rewards in terms of less competition and decent reward pools. It obviously depends on your players you obviously decide to buy as well. Limited, even having the best Premier League players like this as such, it can be quite competitive, especially with XP, for example. People might have, very high XP on Trent and Rodri, for example, in their Liverpool kind of collection bonus. So keep that in mind as well. But the first thing to touch on is, your starting point, your budget, your scarcity, what you're going to enjoy more. Having more teams out in limited as such, having one or two teams out in rare of players you might be unknown or lower level quality of players. As well as your budget and picking the scarcity of your choice, in my opinion, it's vital to choose one competition and put full focus in on that as well. Now, the bigger budget you have, the more you can spread your lineups. Another thing to point out as well, from August onwards, Global All-Star and the cap modes will be replaced by La Liga and Bundesliga, and we'll have multi-entry in under 23 as well. So what do I mean by focusing in on one competition? So you've got a smaller budget. What you don't want to do at the moment in time, in my opinion, is buy a couple of players from the Premier League, a couple of players from, let's say, the Jupiler Pro League in Belgium, and a couple of Scottish League players as well. Now, you can, at the moment in time, play them in All-Star until August or under 23, which is absolutely fine as well. So you can definitely do that, don't get me wrong. But in my opinion, it's vital to focus on one kind of competition and one strategy. Now, keep in mind as well, if you do choose challengers, the MLS and the Brazilian League do play it in the off-season. But what you don't want to do is buy a goalkeeper or defensive stat for the MLS and buy an attacking stat from Portugal, for example, from Porto, as an example. So do research in those sort of categories as well. Also to mention is a different type of budget. So usually contenders will have the cheapest options, and then the champion Premier League, for example, with most expensive. But again, do research with your scarcity, your budget, and the competitions, and put full focus, in my opinion, into one competition. Now, people ask me all the time, Jack, when is the best time to buy these players? Honest answer is, no one knows. No one knows when the bottom is, when the top is. But looking back at history, usually find that end of April, mid-end of April, is usually the best time to buy European cards. Now, if I was starting throughout today, and you've got 20 cards, 20 players in mind, I would really target now 10 players to get into your gallery. We don't know if there's an upturn, a downturn. No one knows. We've seen different booms here, the Gary V boom, just for example, and different announcements on Sorare and what's happening in the world as well. We've also got the Copa America this summer, the Euros this summer as well, so keep that in mind if you are focusing on buying those sort of players. Those values might never drop. Again, no one knows when the prices will be the lowest, but in my opinion, if you're starting Sorare today, be happy with what you're paying. Look at the budget, look at other prices on the market, look at other players, compare. Buy half the players now, and in April, maybe in May, when the season comes to an end, by the other 10, for example, at that moment in time. Now, this is not essential, but something that I would do if I was starting Sorare today, and something that I've been trying to do in terms of my own gallery as well, and that is defensive stacks, having goalkeepers and defenders from the same team. I'm not talking a full team stack. I think I have one in Bayern Munich, but again, I didn't go out my way and buy those 5 players. Due to transfers, Harry Kane, for example, from Tottenham to Bayern, it means I have a full team stat now. But I'm talking more of a goalkeeper and defender defensive stack, and not just any defensive stack as well. The first thing I would do is find the defender first of all. And that's kind of the main thing for me. Have a look at defenders. Let's say in Champions, for example. Now, I like defenders with AA. Obviously, Grimaldo is straight up there as a perfect example that we could perhaps use in a moment in time. And there's loads of examples here. Now, let's say we want a Romero for a Premier League defensive stack. Now, I know top of my head, Vicario is Tottenham's goalkeeper. So, and he's young. So, if you don't know the player, go into the player, his attributes. Obviously, check his scores out as well. Make sure he's a starting defender if you aren't aware of the team or the player. But then look at the goalkeeper. You know, is he a fairly young goalkeeper? Obviously, goalkeepers can play up to 40 now, for example. But is a goalkeeper first? Is he locked in as well? Now, a few people go for the goalkeeper first of all, then defender, which is okay. But in my opinion, defender is my first choice. But still doing a lot of research on the goalkeeper, making sure he is definite number one is as vital, if that makes sense. Now, you don't have to have defensive stacks. If it just changes to Premier League, for example, I'm sure there's plenty of Premier League defenders you can go out and get on a one-off basis. For example, Van Heckel. Now, we don't know Brighton's goalkeeper next season. It's going to be Steele and Verbruggen completely rotating. So maybe an option there is having Van Heckel, for example, and an Alisson, Liverpool goalkeeper. But in my opinion, the way I play Sorare now, I like to have a defensive stat, 25 points extra for a clean sheet for a goalkeeper, and the extra 10 for a defender. It's not essential, but something that I like doing moving forward on Sorare. The other 3 players can be from anyone, from any team, sorry. Again, I sometimes have an attacking stack, such as Maddison and Son from Tottenham. You know, you can have like a Rodri and a Holland from Man City as such. Wouldn't recommend that, by the way. You can do that. I don't mind 3 extra players, random players, in the 3 extra slots. But in my opinion, the goalkeeper and defensive stack is not vital, but something that I would look at if I was starting Sorare today. If you are still watching this video, by the way, hats off to you. I'm just waffling on here about my strategy if I was starting Sorare. The final point I'd kind of make out is the collection points as well. And again, those that do follow me on Twitch and YouTube, watch my videos, will know I am not a massive collector on Sorare. But looking back now, if I could start over again, starting brand new today, it's something that I would put a little bit more focus on. And 2% is something that I'd aim for on majority of the players. Keep the players that you're going to be keeping for a while, especially. So you've got and buy a Rodri, for example, and you're going to keep him for the next 2 to 3 years. If you can get a 3%, or obviously the higher the better, but ideally aim for 3. That's great, but ideally you want 2% on your elite players as such. And I think the classic competitions, the end-season competitions, this XP is going to be vital. The captain bonus will be known as 50%. I think every little XP does count, and having that collection boost is going to be vital. Another thing that we kind of know about now as well is the loot boxes. I'll find these very quickly if I can do, but what we know in the loot boxes as well, we're going to see a lot of XP boosts. We're just going to the loot boxes here. You will see a level up bonus here. So a lot of people now will have players get up to level 20 very quickly, having that 10 XP. So if you can kind of capture those XP points and collection bonuses to stay ahead of those other managers, it could be absolutely vital in my opinion. And the last point is in-season versus classic season cards. Which ones should you buy? Again, it probably comes down to your budget and the scarcity as mentioned right at the start of the video, but also the time of the year. We're in April nearly now. Probably doesn't make sense in my opinion to go out there and buy a full in-season European team, just for example. Another point as well is it could hinder your Sorare sort of strategy and layouts. Maybe if you're buying, 5 players brand new, you're starting Sorare today, it might not hinder it too much. When you start to come and win cards moving forward, as you can see right here on my graphic, it can hinder your kind of Sorare lineups. So just for example, let's just say Alisson and Trippier are both injury-free, and they're both playing this midweek for Liverpool and Newcastle. Just an example. Now, as you can see, I've got 1 classic card in Trippier. So in the in-season competitions, you can have 1 classic card and obviously 4 in-season cards. Now, look at my forward cards here. I've only got Alvarez and João Pedro as in-season cards, and the rest are classic cards. Now, in hindsight, maybe the fixture as well for Son isn't amazing, but okay. Now, in hindsight, in the old format in Champ Europe before, in the old Sorare, I'd have gone Son easily and put this team up with my best 5 players in a lineup. Now, what I've seen a lot of managers do, again, including myself, I've done this already this weekend, is maybe sacrifice your best lineup to put a team in season, if that makes sense, and try and win that cash, have less competition. So just for example, João Pedro's a bit of a doubt to start, but let's say he's a 50-50, or he should get some minutes. You might pick João Pedro. Now, he might score well and do great, and that is great. But in my opinion, it can hinder your experience or your strategy on Sorare. Now, as I mentioned a moment ago, it probably won't affect you too much if you're starting Sorare today and buying these cards out right now. But in hindsight, either go out and buy all classic cards or all in season. I won't go for a mixture of both. It kind of confuse you, as you just seen right on there. If you can get a great deal for an in-season team or in-season card, you're not paying much more, go for it. And one final thing I'd advise as well, on the secondary market, if you are looking for classic cards, is try and get ones with decent XP. I'll just try and find one right now very quickly for you guys. So manager sales rare, all season cards. The Van Dijk 1.5%. It might be worth paying extra couple quid more if you can and getting one at 4-5%, for example. But really try and focus on the XP as well, because the in-season cards currently with a 5% XP, that'll get removed from August. So these cards will be more powerful in hindsight as well. And don't forget your collection bonus as well in terms of auctions and buying those certain levels and scarcities and that season. If you're buying a full Liverpool stack or you want the XP up to 2%, just beware. And the old season cards can be quite difficult. As you might know already, the collection bonus, you get 40 points if you buy a new card from auction, where if you're paying it second hand, you will only get 20 points. Just try and find one on here, actually. For example, Costa here, I brought him on the secondary market, not a first owner. He's only got me 20 points compared to Musiala, who were brought from auction at 40 points on there as well. So that might come into play or to buy in-season cards and old-season classic cards as well. But that's it for me, guys. Probably waffled on a bit too much there. If you have got this far in the video, don't know how you made it, please drop it a like. It's much appreciated. Subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Well, yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as well. What would you do if you're starting Sorare today? Or if you are starting Sorare today, what are your plans moving forward on the new era on Sorare? Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.